Nobody seems to be noticing what is currently happening to crude oil, and so you can actually profit from that. In today's video, we discuss the most important technicals, fundamentals, and also macroeconomics of this commodity. We have recently seen that bullish reversal here at crude oil. We have seen that new bullish trend forming out, but coinciding to that, we have actually seen that invalidation of the moving average here at the RSI, and we've also seen that the volume delta has been spiking to the downside. And so whether we're actually about to see a crash happening, a reversal happening here at crude oil to the downside, break through this trend line here, that is actually a question that can only be answered by taking a look at the fundamentals and macroeconomics at the broader cycles of this commodity. And if you have a look at the weekly chart here, you really do understand the dynamics of crude oil. We are currently having a look at Brent crude oil here at the weekly, and as you may already see, we do have an interesting correlation between the crude oil prices and also the gold to silver ratio and the copper to gold ratio. You can see that the last few crashes that we've seen here happening to crude oil have actually coincided to the gold to silver ratio reversing. In other words, when we have seen that crash happening, we have actually seen that gold actually outperformed silver. And coinciding to that, we have seen a crash happening here at the copper to gold ratio. In other words, we have seen gold also outperforming copper. And you can actually see that marking the last few big macro crashes that we've seen, those indicators actually marked those crashes happening. And so if you have a look at what we are currently seeing, that obviously would suggest we could predict the future, right? We're currently seeing a reversal at the gold to silver ratio happening again. We are seeing that actually going from a outperformance of silver to now actually gold outperforming silver. And that obviously shows you that we do have a flight to safety. Whenever you do see that gold is starting to outperform silver, that is a really good indicator to actually understand the current market sentiment. And as it seems we do have a sentiment change here, we do believe that this is a indication that we could see some weakness or maybe even crash potential actually regaining some strength in the market. And coinciding to that, here at the copper to gold ratio, we have recently seen that also obviously going to a historical low here, and that obviously suggests exactly the same. We have seen phases where copper has actually outperformed gold. Those have been always marked by beautiful expansions at the crude oil prices as the economic activity actually picked up. But whenever we do see that actually reversing, you do see that gold actually is really indicating that we do have a gradual flight to safety. And as obviously copper is a industrial metal, that obviously also shows you a lot about the business cycle, as obviously copper is now less in demand as the business cycle seems to be slowing down. And we have seen that actually really beautifully indicating those business cycles. And in fact, if you now have a look at what seems to be happening, you do see that whenever this is actually starting to break under certain levels here at this ratio, that seems to actually indicate a crash. And if you now combine those low points here at this ratio, you have actually roughly come to a trend line, which we're currently hitting again. Coinciding to that, we do see this gold to silver ratio reversal, and also coinciding to that, we do have seen big structural breakouts at other energy sectors, for example, natural gas. And so obviously that could suggest we might see crude oil following. By the way, if you like this analysis, you can also check out our natural gas video. And obviously also make sure to subscribe to our channel and like the video so you don't miss future videos, and also support us for work here on YouTube. And now let's actually continue by taking a look at exactly those indicators and understand why they actually occur. We have talked about the outperformance here with the copper to gold ratio, with the gold to silver ratio, and that obviously leads to those cycles here. But it's also really important to understand the dollar strength, right? If you now have a look at what is currently happening to the dollar, you do see that they also move in cycles. Whenever you do see that the dollar is actually weakening, that leads up to those big recessions we've previously seen. Not here in 2020, which was not an inflationary boom that we've seen, but you could see this actually a lot of times. We've seen this weakening dollar right here, then it picked up. We've seen that crude oil in coincidence actually crashed here, or maybe just as a result of this strengthening of the dollar. But you do have a inverse relationship. You do see that that is a negative correlation here, roughly speaking. And so obviously, as we do see this weakening dollar here, as this is actually about to pick up again, that could also be a signal for a reversal happening to crude oil prices. And so those are really important indicators to actually monitor and to conclude from that. You can only understand the future, you can only predict the future as long as you do understand the past. That is our approach here at Kronos. And if you now have a look at those empirical evidences, you have to come to the conclusion that we could obviously see a crash happening next year for crude oil. We have seen those indicators that we've just assessed actually speak the language that they've spoke before those previous crashes. They've actually indicated exactly the same thing. We've seen the copper to gold ratio fall already previous to the crash. You can see that here, for example, in 26, we've seen that fall. We've seen that fall now since 2022, essentially. You have seen that reversal here at the gold to silver ratio. You have seen that the dollar is currently starting to consolidate and hasn't really weakened anymore as we've seen it previously. And so this inflationary pressure is currently not given here. And also concerning crude oil, we do have seen similar things happening here, for example, before the COVID crash with this weakening and this consolidation. And so those indicators do suggest we might see a deflationary crash happening in the near future. Obviously, we can see a continuation of this trend. In the short term, we can't predict the future as well. And so obviously that could move on for quite a while. We could actually continue breaking through those resistances right here. But at the same time, we do have a weakening momentum in equities. And as they may actually correct, we could also see that trigger a deeper correction here at crude oil. And so to conclude, we are actually quite conservative concerning energy in general and also commodities in general. In fact, actually, every asset class does has a lot of downside potential in our eyes, as we do see that we are at the end of this business cycle, and we could see a deflationary crash happening by a quite high percentage and possibility in the next few weeks. And so I think it's really important, and we do believe at Kronos that it's really important to actually preserve your capital, and cash is king sentiment is probably the best to sum it up. I think, and we do believe that this is probably the most important aspect of this video. So if you liked the video, please make sure to subscribe to our channel and like the video, and also comment down below if you have any questions or just want to give us your opinion about the topic. Thanks for your support. See you the next time. Bye bye.